Hi friends, welcome to Dub Stitch. My name is Des and this is the Saturn top. I am so excited to share this project with the crochet community who has been absolutely amazing to me. I could not be more grateful for my amazing testers on both TikTok and Instagram. I hope you love creating your Saturn top just as much as I do. Let's get started. Here's all the materials you'll need to make your Saturn top. I am using Karen Chunky Cakes. It is a weight 6 100% acrylic yarn, a 10mm crochet hook, some darning needles or wool needles to weave in your ends, stitch markers. I'm going to be using a yellow one and 4 purple, measuring tape, and a pair of scissors. Since this is a raglan style or a top-down sweater, I'm going to start by creating the neckline. And for this pattern, I chose to do foundation single crochet because I really love not having to single crochet into individual chains, and I like how it gives a stretchy effect. This is not an official foundation single crochet tutorial, but I will show you how I do it. Start by chaining 2, and then I'm going to take this left loop and the back bar, pick up those 2 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and now we're going to make our chain. You're going to yarn over and pull through 1, but to make everything really easy, I'm going to pinch this yarn right here, which is going to be the back bar, and I'm going to hold on to it for the rest of this process. So I'm holding on to that back bar. I did my chain. Now we're going to yarn over and pull through 2. And that's our first foundation single crochet. So from here, we got to make another one. What you want to do is work into this bar here and then this loop. So that's why we held on to that back bar. So I'm just going to pick up that first loop and then just boop. You see how y'all like how I did that? And let's do it again. So I'm going to hold on to it. I'm basically pinching. Boom. Boom. Let's do it again. Pinch. Boom. One more time. It's so satisfying. I'm going to keep going until I have 1 stitch left. And if you want to know the specific details, for example, like stitch counts, all of that stuff, please check out my written pattern for the Saturn top. It's size graded for sizes extra small all the way through 5X. See why it's easier to hold that back bar? But if you don't hold the back bar, here's another way to do it. You just flip it over to the side, and that's what you're working into. Just make sure you pick up all those loops. There you go. I will meet you guys back at the last one and I'll show you how to join it in the round. All right, at this point I have 47 foundation single crochet and I am starting on number 48, but we're not going to finish number 48 like we typically would. So we're just going to pull up a loop, then you're going to find the beginning, and we're going to slip stitch into that first chain right here. So I'm going to insert my hook into the first chain. I'm going to keep my yarn tail and stuff towards the front. Yarn over, pull up a loop like that, and then we're going to pull through the first loop. That's a slip stitch. Okay, it's not looking too confusing, right? We're getting somewhere. Let's move that yarn tail to the front, and now we're going to single crochet with the 2 loops that are left on our hook. So let's yarn over, pull through both of those. So we completed our 48th foundation single crochet, and now we need to slip stitch into the first one, which is right here next to the knot. Slip stitch, boom, boom. We're connected. How cool is that? And she's stretchy. So the way a raglan works is basically you are going to be increasing in 4 points. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our back panel, this is our front panel, and this is the center of our back panel. So imagine these are your shoulders, this is the front, and then that's your back panel. So I'm gonna place stitch markers in specific spots so that it gives me an even amount all the way around. So for example, if I place my stitch markers where you see my fingers, the goal is to have the same amount of stitches on your front and back panel and the same amount of stitches on your shoulders. I'm going to place my stitch markers according to everything that I have written in the pattern. Again, check that out if you're interested. If not, just wing it and see what happens. Now I have my stitch markers where they need to go, and I am going to start by turning my work. I'm gonna apologize ahead of time for the stitch marker sounds all over the tables, but I don't know what else to do. At the end of every round, before you start your new round, you need to turn your work. If you don't turn your work, you're gonna have a slanted seam. That's not the kind of look I'm going for, so I'm gonna turn my work. At the end of every round and at the beginning of every new round, you're gonna turn your work. You have to turn your work. You need to be turning your work, okay? So what are we doing? We're turning our work. And then we are going to work our first stitches into the same stitch that we slip stitched into. So we slip stitch into the first one, and then when we turn our work, we're gonna work into that same stitch. Instead of chaining like you typically would do to reach the height of, like, for example, a triple crochet, double crochet, I am going to do stacked single crochets. So I'm going to start by working a single crochet into that first stitch. It's a little awkward at first, but you get used to it. That's my first single crochet. And then to stack them, you're going to work your next one into that bar. Pull up a loop. We got a second single crochet, and then we're going to work our next third single crochet into that loop, that bar right there as well. Now we have 3 stacked singles. I'm gonna put my stitch marker in her. And then our mesh pattern is going to be a chain 1, skip a stitch, and we're gonna be skipping this one. Chain 1, skip 1 stitch, triple crochet into the next. Triple crochet. I'm trying not to make a lot of noise with these stitch markers. Let me know if it's driving you nuts. I really need to know. I need to know for the future. The other way that I could do this so that there's not a lot of sound from the stitch markers would be standing up. I don't want to stand up. I don't want to stand up, but if I have to stand up for you guys, I will stand up for you guys. So then we are going to chain 1, skip a stitch, triple crochet into the next. And this is our mesh pattern. You're going to do this up until you get to your first stitch marker. And then in each of your purple stitch markers, which are your shoulder points, you're going to be placing an increase. So this is round 2. Oop, I lost a loop. This is round 2. So the increases in round 2 are going to look like this. We're going to triple crochet, chain 1, triple crochet into the same stitch. Boom, that's an increase in round 2. Everything after this, all of your increases and all of the other rounds after this for the body are going to look a bit differently. So the concept of our increases is basically placing 2 triple crochets into 1 stitch, which creates a box. And whenever you have both legs of your box, your mesh box, in 1 stitch, it kind of gives it like a corner effect. So anytime you finish a box, typically you would skip 1 stitch and place it into the next one to create a box. But now for our increases, we are creating a box by putting both of the legs, both sides of the box into 1 stitch. Moving forward for rounds 3 through the rest of the body, like I said, it's going to look a little bit differently when you get to your increases. I'll explain more when we get there, but you're going to have 3 triple crochets in every increase. So for the rest of this round, I'm going to chain 1, skip a stitch, and triple crochet into the next. This is what it looks like after the increase. Do that for the rest of the round, and then whenever you get back to the beginning, you're going to slip stitch into your third stacked single crochet where I have the stitch marker. So I'll meet you guys there and show you how I get that done. Okay, so we made it back to the beginning, and at this point all we need to do is chain one and slip stitch into our third stacked single crochet to finish the last box. Just like this. And that's how you finish the last box. So just so you guys understand, we have a 3 stacked single crochet in the beginning to make the leg of our first box, chain one, skip a stitch and triple crochet into the next, and then when we get back to the beginning, all we need to do is chain one to finish that last box. Boom, that's it. Moving on to round 3, we're going to turn our work and we're going to start our 3 stacked single crochets into the same stitch that we slip stitched into. So turning our work, and it's right here. And this is how I like my seam to look. So we've got our first stack single, grab that bar, and then number 3, just like that. Place your stitch marker. If you're like me and you don't want to pay attention the whole time you're crocheting and you just need something to highlight, chain one and triple crochet into this next box right here. I don't like to work my mesh stitches into the actual stitch itself because I just don't know, I don't like doing it. I like this way. And then we are going to repeat the process until we get to our first stitch marker. Oh, and don't be like me. Place your stitch markers where they need to go in your increases. Like I forgot to do it right here. So I'm going to move that one where it needs to go, and I'll fix the other one later off camera. So work your mesh pattern until you get to your first increase. Now that we're at the first increase, we recognize the fact that we need to finish this last box. So I already have a chain one on my hook. My triple crochet is set up and ready to go. Whoops. And I'm gonna triple crochet into there. Once you finish the box that came before the increase, we're gonna chain one and add one last box. So that's our increase. So in every purple stitch marker from now on throughout the rest of the body of your Saturn top, you are going to have 2 V's in each stitch marker. Since this is the first shoulder point, what we need to do is place our stitch marker into the innermost box, which is the one to the left. And then we are going to chain one and continue the mesh pattern over your first shoulder. I will show you the increases again. I got a chain one on my hook. Got to finish that last box. Chain one, triple crochet into your purple stitch marker again. So that's one, chain one. Oops. Triple crochet into the purple stitch marker again, and then you're going to place your purple stitch marker into the innermost increase. So since this is your first shoulder is from this point to this point here. And I'm going to put my second stitch marker right, and I'm going to put my second stitch marker right here. So this is what your first shoulder should look like. Increases are in the innermost V's. So after your second increase, you're just going to chain one and then work your triple crochets into the very next box. And that's how it should be looking. Okay, I'm at my third stitch marker. We're gonna triple crochet, chain one, triple crochet, chain another one, and another triple crochet. There we go. Period. Put your stitch marker in your innermost. I'm being so silly right now. It's 3 o'clock. It's like, it's a Friday. It's 2:40 and I'm just like, ah! Okay, so third increase, boom, she's done. We're gonna work the mesh pattern over the second shoulder. I keep losing my stitches because I'm trying to to stay at a nice angle so you guys can see what I have going on. Ooh, a color change! Oh, I love color changes. Remember whenever Cher on Clueless was like, I love him. Talking about Billie Holiday. Okay, 4th increase. After this, you're just gonna repeat round 3 for as many rows as you need to until you need to make your armholes. 4th increase, innermost V would be this one right here. Drop the hook, just drop the hook. All right. So this is our second shoulder and our first shoulder. Look at what we're doing, you guys. Look at us. Okay, so we're just gonna finish this until we get to the beginning of the round, and we're gonna slip stitch just like we did last time. Now I'm just gonna slip stitch. And that's what you should have at the end of round 3. So I am just gonna repeat this for, I don't know, I think 2 more rows for my size, and then I will show you guys how to do the armholes. I just got done with round 5 and I'm about to start with round 6. Round 6 is where I'm going to create the armholes. For me, I felt like this fit really well. If you feel like whenever you put this on over your neck, like you can't, if this isn't reaching your armpits, crochet another round. For my round 6, I'm going to start just like I did with all of the others, with turning my work, and then I'm gonna do 3 stack single crochets into the same stitch that we slipped into for the last round. I'm gonna chain 1 and triple crochet into this next box, and that's just me showing you guys the pattern again. Chain 1, triple crochet into the next box, and I'm gonna do this all the way up until the box before my first stitch marker. All right, so my stitch marker is here, and I am going to triple crochet into the box that is to the right of my first stitch marker. And now I'm gonna chain 3. This is what will be basically touching your armpit. I didn't do those too tight, not too loose. Now what I'm gonna do is triple crochet into the box that is to the left of your second stitch marker. Basically, I'm triple crocheting into the box that is on the exact opposite side. So I've got triple crochet here, 3 chains, and I'm gonna pick up my work and triple crochet into this box. So we're skipping over all of those shoulder stitches, and now we have an armhole. How cool is that? Now we're gonna chain 1 and continue the mesh pattern until you get to your 3rd stitch marker. So that's what it looks like after and before. Now we're working on the front panel. I've made it to 1 box before my 3rd stitch marker, so I'm gonna triple crochet into that box, and we're gonna chain 3. Oops, chain 3. Repeat the same process that we did for the first shoulder. Triple crochet into the box that is on the left of your 4th stitch marker. Just like that. Chain 1, triple crochet into the next box. And then we are going to slip stitch to finish this round. And after you do that, put a stitch marker into your loop and try it on. If your armhole is too small after you try it on, you can make your armhole a little bit bigger. What I would suggest is you can either chain more for your armhole, or you can just start your armhole in a different stitch. You can start it further back here. If you want to, for example, you could start here instead of here. And if it's too big, then you can start in your stitch marker and end in your stitch marker. Now I'm moving on to round 7. I just started it off like I usually would. And I am going to do my mesh pattern all the way around, but I will meet you guys as soon as I get to my chain 3 so I can show you what I do whenever I get over there. Actually, I might not even pause it because I'm kind of getting through it pretty quickly. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not gonna pause it. I'll just hang out with you guys. So once you get to your chain 3s, what you're gonna do is place a box over top of your chains, pretty much the same, it's like the same concept as what you did for your foundation row. So I am going to triple crochet right underneath of the gap right here to end that last box. Okay, and then I'm going to chain 1. Then I'm going to triple crochet into the second chain. So let me just grab that back bar to make my life easier. And then I'm going to pick up those top 2 loops, that top V, triple crochet, and then I'm going to chain 1 and then triple crochet underneath of your next box. Now you have a cute little armhole. Isn't it so cute? Same thing for the second armhole. I just finished my first triple crochet into the gap, and then I'm going to pick up this back bar here underneath of my second chain to make my life easier, and then I'm going to crochet into the V, triple crochet, chain 1, triple crochet, we triple crocheted. Okay, so we've got 3 boxes over that armhole area. Then we're gonna finish the round, slip stitch like we typically would, and I will come back whenever we get to the waist area, because whenever we get there for 2 rounds, we're gonna decrease like halfway around each round. So in 2 spots, we're gonna decrease basically underneath of your arm, just to cinch in the waist a little bit and give us like a little bit of shape. And I will show you guys how I do those mesh triple crochet decreases. Oops, I was about to triple crochet. See, that's what happens when I get going, y'all. Slip stitch. Oh, see, I'm just doing too much. Oh my god, this is what happens when I don't have my smoothies. I just finished round 9, and this is what we have so far. I don't think I can get everything in the frame, but I think you kind of get the point. So for my decrease round, the goal is to decrease halfway between the front and the back panels on both sides. So I am going to crochet 8 boxes. So I've got 8 boxes, and I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to decrease in the next 2 boxes. The way I do my decreases with this triple crochet mesh is I start by yarning over 2 times as if I'm gonna make a regular triple crochet, and I'm gonna pull up a loop in the first box, and then I'm gonna do the same thing and pull up a loop in the second box. Now all of our decrease stitches are gonna end up in this second box, and we're skipping over this first one, kind of. You'll see what it looks like. So we're gonna yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 more. Now we have just 3 left. We're going to yarn over and pull through all of the last 3 loops, and that's your decrease. Now let's chain 1 and continue the mesh pattern. Oops. And continue the mesh pattern for 16 boxes across this front panel. And then in boxes 17 and 18, I'm gonna decrease again. I just need to do one more box to get me to 16. And now you can see that we're at the armhole. I'm gonna decrease in these two boxes here. So chain one, yarn over twice, pull up a loop in your next box, pull up a loop in the next box, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through the last three. Cute little decrease. Chain one, and mesh until you are at your stitch marker. For the next round, I'm gonna turn my work like I have been, and like we all have been, right? Because we're all turning our work, right? Check your seam. So for this round, I'm basically repeating the last round, except for the fact that I ended my last round with 34 boxes. So it's gonna be impossible to crochet 8 boxes before each, or before and after each decrease. It's gonna be impossible to split that in exactly half. So basically what I'm doing for my round 11 to repeat the last round is I'm just gonna crochet 8 mesh boxes, and then I'm gonna crochet 15 mesh boxes, and then I'm gonna crochet 7 mesh boxes. That way I'm only decreasing by 2, and not having even mesh boxes on each side really is unnoticeable. So I will meet you guys whenever I am done with this round, because after this round, we get to do the border. My rounds 10 and 11 are finished where I decreased, and you can kind of see a little bit of that shape. And you want to make sure that you're doing this on the correct side of your work. So the way that I think the neckline looks best is to have the single crochets technically facing wrong side out, because then they look like half double crochets kind of. So in my opinion, this is the outside of the project. This is the inside of your project. That's how you know the difference, is by looking at your neckline. If your last round was crocheted on the inside of your project like mine, you're gonna turn your work, just like we have been this entire time. Turn your work, and then you're gonna single crochet into that same stitch that we slip stitched into, just like we have been this whole time. That's your first single crochet. And then your second one is gonna be one inside of that box, your first box. Then you're gonna begin putting 2 single crochets in each box for the rest of the round. If your last round was worked on the outside of your project, don't turn your work. Just start by working 2 single crochets into your first box. The only reason that I worked my first single crochet into the spot that we slip stitched into is because I needed to turn my work. But if you don't need to turn your work, go ahead and start putting 2 single crochets into each mesh box. Just like this. You can choose your tension on these single crochets. For me, I don't like them to be too loose, but I want them to have like a little bit of tightness to it. That way the top really cinches in nicely around my waist. You can see that tightness building up there. I'm just gonna keep going, and then at the end of this round I'm gonna slip stitch into my first single crochet, which is right here. At the end of the round, just slip stitch into your first single crochet to close it up, and then you just want to chain 1, oops, then chain 1, and then we're gonna leave about that much. Leave a tail, pull it tightly. It's so cute. Try it on at this point. If you like the fit, then move on to the sleeves. If you don't like the fit, frog a few rounds and see what you think might fit you a little bit better. For example, if you don't like the decreases that I did around the waist, then don't do them. If you want it to be more cropped, then use less yarn and don't do as many rows as I did. I think this is a pretty good base pattern to get creative with, and I hope you guys are having fun so far. We're gonna start the sleeves. Here's a better view of what you should have so far. You'll see the little decreases at the bottom as soon as I'm done making it look decent. But there we go. And for the back, You shouldn't really be able to see your seam, but if you look closely, you can see that I have one going straight up the middle. To get started on the sleeve, what I'm gonna do is work on the outside of my project. And I am gonna find my center box that I made over my armhole. This one here, this is where we're gonna do our stack single crochets. Our stack single crochets are gonna be right here. So let's tie our yarn here into the box that is to the right of it. I got my yarn tied on, and I'm gonna pull up a loop in that same box, move my tail out the way. Then I'm gonna do my stack single crochets in the next box. 1, 2, 3 stack single crochets, starting off our mesh pattern exactly like we did with the body. The sleeves are basically the same exact thing. Except for decreasing, we are going to do 2 rows of increases to add a little bit of flare once we get towards the bottom of the sleeve. So we've got our stack single crochets, our 3 of them. Chain 1, triple crochet into the next box. Chain 1, moving on to the next spot. We've got this big awkward box here, but don't overthink it. Just triple crochet into that space. Repeat the process all the way around. Oh, that chain was, she was a little iffy. The next box is right here. That's our next spot, like our next join. That's what you're really looking for in this round. And we're just setting up all of our mesh boxes. Triple crochet into the next box here. I keep splitting my yarn because of the angle that I'm crocheting at. I'm not used to it. Oop. Moving on to the next boxes. Keep going. Some of these are really easy to see, and some of them you might be like, eh. Working into this box. Chain 1. Keep going around. And then we're gonna work into this join here. We're almost back at the beginning. And then our last box is right here. It's gonna be like really close to the stitch marker. And chain 1. And then we are going to slip stitch into the 3rd stacked single crochet that we did. And now you have the base boxes for your armhole. This is what it should be looking like. I'm just gonna do 8 more rounds, and then I will meet you guys back before I start increasing. I'm back, and I definitely cheated on y'all. I said I was gonna be back after I finished 8 more rounds of that first sleeve, but I ended up finishing the whole sleeve, and then I did 9 rounds of the next sleeve. So at the end of round 9, I am just gonna chain 1, slip stitch into my 3rd stacked single crochet, and then I'm gonna turn my work, and now we are going to start our little increases that make the little flare. So we're gonna do this for 2 rounds, and basically what you're gonna do is place an increase on each side of the sleeve, and we are gonna do it by doing 1 increase at a time. So start your row off like regular, and then for your first increase, you're just gonna place a triple crochet into your very first box. You never triple crochet into your very first box for any other round in this entire project, except for this one. That's our increase. Now I'm just gonna chain 1, triple crochet into the next box like I typically would have, and that's what you should have. And I'm gonna continue my round just like regular, no more increasing. Oops, no more increasing, and then I will meet you at the beginning of the next round. For the next round, we are going to work our mesh boxes for a specific amount depending on how big your sleeve is. What you want to do is work your way halfway around the sleeve and then place your increase, and then finish your mesh pattern like you typically would. I'm just gonna slip stitch to finish off the round. Turn my work. We're all turning our work. We are all turning our work. Turneth thine work. Okay? We're gonna stack single crochet into here. Two and three. And for my size, a medium, I am going to crochet 8 boxes around, and then I'm gonna increase. I'll meet you at the increase. Okay, so I've got 8 boxes, and now I'm gonna triple crochet into the next, chain 1, triple crochet into the same box. That's your increase. Chain 1 into the next box, triple crochet, and continue the mesh pattern for the rest of the round. And then for the next 2 rounds, you are just gonna crochet 2 rounds like regular. So 2 plain rounds. That's gonna balance out the increases and give you that gradual little flare. If you want a larger flare or a bigger flare on your sleeve, what you can do is remove a few of your regular rounds that you did before your first flare round and replace that with another flare. I just finished my second plain mesh round, and this is what we have so far. It's kind of hard to see the increases at this angle, but when it's in front of you, you can see it. So for this next round, which is my last round, we are basically going to do the same thing we did for the waist. If you worked your last round on the inside of your project like I did, you need to turn your work. If you did not, then don't turn your work. And if you're like me and you had to turn your work, single crochet into the same stitch that we slipped into, and then single crochet into your first box. If you did not have to turn your work, you just want to put 2 single crochets into that first box. And now we're just going to put 2 single crochets in every box for the rest of the sleeve, and then we're going to slip stitch into this first one to finish off the round. Oops, this first one. The goal with this is to not make them too tight because you don't want your sleeve to start cinching off. You want it to be loose and flowy. If it does end up being too tight, that's fine. You can always block it. But that's about how loose mine are. So keep going around, put 2 in every box. Then at the end, you're going to slip stitch, chain 1 to fasten off, and then leave like a little yarn tail, however long you need. Mine are always too long, so I'm not even gonna make a recommendation. I have a whole problem with yarn tails, y'all. I have a whole bowl, an entire glass bowl of yarn scraps and yarn tails because I always leave way too much. I don't like weaving in ends whenever the tail is too short. That makes it miserable and annoying, and I would like to enjoy it. And leaving longer tails has made it more enjoyable, but girl, I'm wasting yarn. Not in this economy. All right, we're back at the beginning. I'm just gonna slip stitch into that first single crochet, chain 1. See? And I still went through with it. And we're done. Look how cute this is. So your seam should be going straight up the armhole, like the armpit right underneath. And if it's too tight, this one right here, if it's too tight, just steam block it and stretch out that one little seam. This is what you should have. I'm so excited to try this on. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. If you enjoyed the video, please do not forget to like and subscribe and follow me on all of my socials. Don't forget to tag me in everything that you create. I hope you have an amazing day wherever you are.